Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So today we got a new patch, and with the new patch comes some new data mines. We got some new cards for the upcoming season over on in March, as well as some updates to cards that are going to be coming in the more near future in February, and some changes to the Spotlight Cash schedule. So let's take a look at it. So starting out, we have the image for the March Season Pass, going to be featuring the new card Hope Summers, alongside variants for Magneto and Iron Man. I guess the theme is Avengers versus X-Men. Don't really know a lot about the lore there. If you do, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. And here are our new cards. So we have 5 new cards here, including the Season Pass. Starting off with Hope Summers, 3/3. After you play a card here, you get +2 energy next turn. I do not think this is how this card will release. Anytime cards are 2+ months out, they often go through quite a bit of changes, as we'll see with some other cards here that got changed that are supposed to be coming out next month. I don't think they would make a card like this. It just seems very... it's basically kind of like that location that gives you the Djinn, where you can play a 0/1 and you get +2. But you don't have to actually fill up your board. You just have to play stuff into the Hope Summers lane. So I don't think that this card is going to maintain either the current effect or the current stat line, as it just enables a pretty absurd amount of mana cheating if this is the final design. So yeah, don't expect that one to actually be what is popping up in the Season Pass, personally. We have Cannonball, 5/8 on reveal, move an enemy card away from here and add a rock where it was. If it can't move, destroy it and add the rock. So kind of cool design. 5/8s are generally pretty good, but this really feels like it's kind of like a big Stegron in a way. It's just a little bit better if, you know, the opponent happens to fill up their board, or maybe you fill up their board for them, but it seems really hard to satisfy this condition. The board usually isn't full. It's pretty hard to do that. Most decks aren't trying to fully fill the board, so actually getting to destroy it seems unlikely. Maybe this is a little bit of a cute nod to the Blob, where if you play this after Blob and it hits Blob, Blob can't move, so he gets destroyed, but that seems really niche, and if there's any other card in that lane, it could hit that instead. Just a lot of overlap here with Stegron, except a bigger stat stick and, you know, potential upside, but I think that upside is going to be kind of rare, unless you're in a game where the locations are really limiting the amount of cards you can play. Mockingbird is a 5/9, so big premium stat line here. Costs 1 less for each card you have in play that didn't start in your deck. Say hello to Thanos' new BFF. This card seems really, really good in Thanos in the current design, because your stones don't start in your deck. So if you play 2 stones, you can play a 3/9. That seems very powerful. This could also be good in Loki type decks, where you use a lot of card generation. Maybe in those games you're not playing out Loki, or you do play out Loki, but you have, you know, some generated cards on the field, like maybe from Snowguard or Maria Hill or what have you. This is just a big stat stick that can't get Shang-Chi'd, and those are generally pretty good. Then we have Pixie, a 1/3 on reveal, shuffle the costs of all cards in your deck. This seems kind of crazy. This seems like pseudo Mr. Negative-esque, where you have to build your deck around it, but if you build your deck around it correctly, there are some pretty silly things you could do, like you start throwing in a Wasp and some 1-drops and whatnot alongside some big stuff, and all of a sudden you can do some pretty crazy stuff, especially given the fact that this is a 1-drop. I'll be pretty surprised if this card ends up remaining a 1-drop, much less a premiumly statted one at that. But if it does, it definitely enables some very wacky outcomes. And then War Machine. So this is a card we haven't seen since the early beta Datamines, where he was essentially just beta Khazar, a 4/5 with the Khazar effect. He has finally been updated to a 4/6 on reveal. Until the end of next turn, nothing can stop you from playing cards anywhere. So Jeff for everything. Makes all your things have that Jeff ability of nothing can stop them. So no location, no Sandman, all that stuff can no longer stop you playing your cards. cool design. I think it kind of fits the card. I'm curious to see how relevant this will be, as the Jeff effect is very situationally good, but will it still be that good when you have to use a turn to essentially set it up? I guess we'll see. And then we have updated cards. So Stegron and Alioth here are not actually the stats they're showing here. If you're wondering what happened, they accidentally updated the game and changed these stats, and they have since reverted them. It was not something they apparently intended to do. It was an error. I actually wouldn't have minded Stegron being a 4-7 though, because he kind of sucks. I wouldn't have minded the Alioth being 6-3 either, but is what it is. They changed it back, so those changes are not actually intended or live in the game anymore. But we do have some text updates to Cull Obsidian and Supergiant. These were two of the stronger looking cards we saw that are coming up in the month of February. Cull Obsidian has changed quite a bit. He's now no longer reliant on having to have a Infinity Stone in particular. He also went from 10 power to 9 power, and he no longer has the ongoing indestructible ability. So on one hand, you don't care as much about losing that indestructible because he can't get Shang-Chi'd anymore. And the other hand is that, well, this doesn't really surprise me because they probably didn't want to make a card that was reliant on you owning another Series 5 card. Like, the design was cool, but it doesn't go very well with the acquisition system, as what happens if you're a newer player and you rip Cull Obsidian and you don't own Thanos? You're probably gonna have a pretty bad time. So I'm not surprised that they really changed this one. I think a 4-9 is still pretty good. And this also opens it up to having more application in other decks. So maybe a more one-drop focused deck can make use of this outside of Thanos. And then Supergiant changed quite a bit. I think this was originally a 1-drop, which was absurd, and it was doing it for the next 2 turns. It was very clear that that design should never see the light of day. It seemed very toxic. And this seems a bit more reasonable. So now it's a 4-5 on reveal. All cards played next turn don't reveal until the game ends. So still probably a pretty strong card, especially with Zabu. If you can time this right, really mess up your opponent's game plan where they're not flipping their cards immediately. Another cool thing is maybe you play this in a Hela combo deck with MODOK, where you play this out. It acts as a pseudo-invisible woman. You can play your MODOK on 5 and Hela on 6 without it discarding your Hela. Niche application, but kind of interesting. But yeah, those are the updates to cards that we will be seeing in February. We have some new locations in Utopia and a revised version of Krakoa. Utopia, 3 and 4 cost cards cost 1 less, pretty basic. And then the new Krakoa, your first play here adds its power to the top card of your deck. So kind of interesting. A lot of people hated Krakoa, so not surprised them to see them revise this into a totally new location. I do think it's a little lame though that they took out these locations, and yeah, great. If people don't like them or they're not pushing, you know, enjoyable gameplay, it's fine to redesign locations. I think it is a little lame to just push it out as a new location for the season, rather than just re-implementing it into the game whenever you find a new version you like. The new Conquest variant is the Phoenix Force version of Captain America, so kind of neat. Maybe they'll buff Captain America this month in honor of that card. And then we have the updated Spotlight caches, so these have changed a little bit. Gladiator is making his way into the last Spotlight cache of February in place of Stature, who moved out due to being dropped in the recent series drops, with Corvus Glaive and X-23 remaining alongside him. Moving on to March Spotlights, from the 5th until the 12th, we have Pixie, Mobius, and Spider-Ham. From the 12th until the 19th, we have Mockingbird, Miss Marvel making her first appearance in Spotlights, and Man-Thing. And then from the 19th to the 26th, we have Cannonball, Kitty Pryde, and Ghost Spider. And last but not least, from the 26th to the 2nd of April, we have War Machine, Silk, and Silver Samurai. And then to wrap things up, we have some new variants here, a new Ultimate for Killmonger, and a bunch of randomly assorted variants across a bunch of different artists that will be making their way into the game at some point in the future, though I don't think we have any exact dates for when any of these are going to be joining the game just yet, but keep an eye out for them. There's also a new album which is going to be joining the game presumably this month. This should be dropping later on in the month with the shop takeover that's happening for this new type of art. I like the art here, but I imagine a lot of these are going to be 1200, and that is just a bit too expensive, especially if you're someone who already has a lot of variants you like for these cards. So we don't know the rewards just yet, but I imagine a lot of players are going to pass on this just because it's too expensive. Then we have the card backs for the March season. We can see an Avengers card back, a Hope Summers one, and a Magneto. I imagine the Magneto one is probably going to be associated with an album or some other way to get it, as typically you only have 2 card backs for the season and then one of them in gold. That's probably going to be where the Hope Summers and Avengers ones are going. And then bundles. So unfortunately, no info on bundles yet. We'll keep you posted as more information comes out, but it would appear Second Dinner is doubling down on their stance of, hey, we don't really like you data mining stuff. We don't want you to be able to plan because that doesn't really help us very much. So they have changed some things, making it harder to get access to the new bundles. Snapvan seems to be on it though it is a bit trickier. They still seem to think they're going to have access to early data mined bundles, so whenever we get an update on that, I'll make sure to follow up with one. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. A little bit less information than we normally get, but hopefully we will not have to wait too long on the bundles, and some of the cards look cool here. Worth noting, you know, it's data mine stuff, so it can always change, especially the cards that are further out. But I find generally cards that are, you know, within a month of releasing, like the ones we've seen here changed in Coal Obsidian and Supergiant, are likely to remain the same going to launch, but things can always change, so it's important to remember it. That's going to wrap it up for this video, though. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.